The night was quiet. The sky was dark and the moon was full. A cold wind passed through the empty streets of a small town. In the distance, the sound of leaves moved like whispers. It was one of those nights when the world felt too silent, too empty, as if waiting for something to happen. A young man named Daniel walked home alone, his shoes pressed against the dirt road, and his eyes looked at the endless stars. He always liked watching the sky, wondering what secrets it was hiding. Sometimes he thought maybe someone up there was also watching him. Tonight, his thoughts were broken by a strange flash of light. At first, Daniel thought it was a falling star, but then the light grew brighter, louder, closer. The air trembled as if the sky itself was breaking. A burning streak of fire crossed the heavens, and Daniel's heart raced. He froze, staring as the object screamed across the sky and crashed into the forest near the town. The ground shook slightly under his feet. Birds rose in panic, filling the air with cries. Daniel's first thought was to run away, but his legs carried him forward. Curiosity pulled him, stronger than fear. He rushed toward the smoke that rose. Above the dark trees, when he entered the forest, everything smelled of burning wood. A strange humming sound echoed between the trees, like a broken machine breathing. Daniel pushed through the bushes and reached a clearing. There in the middle was a small crater glowing with strange blue light. Inside the crater lay something he could not believe. A small figure, fragile and weak, struggled to move. It was not human, yet it looked close to human. A girl, tiny in size, with pale skin that shined softly under the moonlight. Her hair floated slightly as if water surrounded her, even though the air was still. Her large eyes glowed like twin lanterns, watching Daniel with fear and curiosity. Daniel's breath caught in his chest. He wanted to step back, but his feet refused. The girl whispered something, her voice trembling like wind in glass. Daniel could not understand the words, but he felt their weight in his bones. She raised her hand slowly, asking for help. Daniel moved closer, his heart beating louder than the forest itself. He reached out his hand, not knowing why, only knowing that he had to. When their hands touched, a spark of light passed between them. It was not painful, but it made his skin shiver. The girl opened her mouth again, this time speaking in broken human words. "Teach me your earthly rituals," she whispered. Her voice was soft, yet sharp like a blade hidden in silk. Daniel stared, unable to reply. Was this real? Or was his mind creating illusions from fear? The girl looked at him as if her life depended on his answer. Before he could speak, the ground shook again. A distant rumble rolled across the forest. Strange shadows moved above the trees. Daniel looked up and saw dark shapes flying across the night sky. They were not birds and they were not planes. Machines, cold and silent, searching for something. The girl's eyes widened with fear. She clutched Daniel's arm tightly, her small fingers glowing with faint blue light. He understood in that moment that she was not safe. Something was hunting her, something powerful and merciless. And by finding her, Daniel had stepped into a danger far greater than he had ever known. The forest grew darker as the machines passed overhead. Red lights scanned the trees like predators searching for prey. Daniel pulled the girl closer and whispered, "We have to move." She nodded weakly, her body trembling. Her small frame felt weightless in his arms, as if she was made of air and light. Step by step, Daniel carried her deeper into the forest. The shadows of the machines followed, their search beams cutting across the ground. Every sound felt louder. Every heartbeat felt dangerous. Daniel tried to stay calm, but fear burned in his chest. The girl pressed her face against his shoulder and whispered again. "They will find me," she said, her voice filled with sorrow. Unless you teach me." Daniel did not know what she meant. What rituals? Why him? Why Earth? But there was no time to ask, no time to think. The sound of metal claws tore into the ground behind them. The hunters had landed, and the chase had begun. Daniel held the girl tighter and ran. He did not know where the path would lead, but deep inside, he felt something strange. This was not the end of the story. This was only the beginning. The night carried the sound of Daniel's footsteps as he ran through the forest. Branches whipped against his arms. Leaves cracked under his shoes, and the strange glowing girl clung to him as if her life depended on it. Behind them, the humming of alien machines echoed like thunder. Each sound closer, sharper, deadlier. Daniel's heart hammered in his chest, but still he ran, not knowing where safety could be found, only knowing he could not leave her behind. At last, Daniel stopped near an old stone cabin hidden under trees. It was abandoned, forgotten, a place no one visited anymore. He pushed the heavy wooden door and slipped inside with the girl, closing it behind them. The cabin smelled of dust and rot, but for now it was shelter. Daniel laid the girl gently on a broken wooden chair, her glowing eyes following every movement. For a moment silence ruled. Then the girl spoke again, her words trembling but clear enough for him to understand. "Teach me your earthly rituals," she whispered, her voice like a song from another world. Daniel blinked in shock, unsure if his mind was playing tricks. "What do you mean by rituals?" he asked, his voice hushed. The girl tilted her head, her silver hair drifting as if the air itself obeyed her. She lifted her small hands, showing glowing symbols that spread across her skin. Each mark pulsed like a heartbeat, alive, breathing. "These are my memories," she said, her words broken but filled with meaning. "My people believe humans hide rituals, strong enough to fight the Empire, strong enough to end wars." Daniel stared at her in disbelief. Humans? Rituals? He thought of traditions, of dances, of handshakes, of the simple things that made life human. Could those things be what she meant? Or was there something hidden he did not yet understand? The girl leaned forward, her eyes wide. She raised the edge of her tiny skirt slightly, not in shame, but in some strange cultural gesture. On her thigh, a glowing mark spread like fire across her skin. It pulsed brighter when Daniel looked at it. "This is the key," she whispered. "But it does not awaken without your teaching." Daniel's mouth went dry. He could not understand, yet he felt the weight of her words. A loud sound shook the cabin walls. The alien hunters were near, their search beams cutting the night. The girl gasped and clung to his arm. "If they take me," she said, "your world will burn." Daniel froze, realizing the truth. He had found her by chance, but fate had already tied him to something much bigger, something Earth itself might depend on. Daniel tried to calm her, his voice trembling. "What rituals do you want? What do you think we have?" The girl closed her eyes, breathing heavy. "Show me what makes you human," she whispered. "Show me why they fear you." Her voice carried desperation but also trust. It was a plea, not a command. Daniel sat back, confused. What could he teach her? How could a simple human ritual protect her from machines built to kill? He thought of his life, the things he did daily, eating, laughing, greeting, praying, dancing. Could it really be so simple? He held out his hand, palm open. "This," he said softly, "is how we greet one another." The girl stared at his hand as if it were a powerful weapon. She reached out slowly, placing her tiny glowing hand against his. The moment their skin touched, the glowing marks on her body pulsed. Like fire, the cabin lit up with blue light and a wave of energy spread through the air. Daniel gasped, pulling his hand back. "What was that?" he whispered. The girl's eyes filled with tears. "That is why they fear you," she said. "Even your smallest rituals carry power, more than you know." Her words shook Daniel's soul. If what she said was true, humanity had a hidden strength no one had ever realized, and the Empire hunting her feared that strength more than anything. The sound of heavy steps outside grew louder. The hunters had found them. Daniel stood quickly, his body tense, his mind racing. The girl's light dimmed as fear returned to her eyes. "They are here," she whispered. "If they catch me, you must not let them take the memory." Daniel clenched his fist. "What memory?" he asked. She looked at him with sorrow and courage. "The memory of your rituals," she whispered. "It is the seed of war and the seed of hope." The cabin door shook as something outside tried to break it open. The girl stood, though weak, her small frame glowing brighter. "Teach me more," she begged, "or we will both die." Daniel knew then that his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a young man from a small town. He was the guardian of something bigger than himself, something the universe feared. The door cracked. Shadows filled the cabin. Daniel held the girl close. Her whisper echoed in his ears like fire in the dark. Teach me before it is too late." And as the hunters broke in, the night exploded with light. The cabin door burst open with a violent crash. Shards of old wood flew across the floor, and the night air carried in the metallic smell of the hunters. Tall figures stepped through the doorway, their bodies wrapped in dark armor that shimmered like oil under the moonlight. Their eyes were glowing red lenses scanning the room with cold hunger. Daniel felt his breath stop, his heart racing so fast it hurt. The girl stood beside him, her fragile frame glowing faintly. The hunters froze. When their eyes landed on her, one of them spoke in a voice that was not a voice but a broken machine sound. "Target located, retrieve immediately." They reached forward with clawed hands that looked sharp enough to tear through stone, but the girl raised her hand and touched Daniel's shoulder. The glowing marks across her skin pulsed, spreading light across the cabin walls. Symbols appeared in the air, floating like smoke yet glowing with life. Daniel stared at them, unable to understand. The hunters hissed, their red eyes flickering, and they stepped back as if the sight of those symbols burned them. Daniel whispered, "What is this?" The girl's voice was weak but steady. "These are memories hidden inside me. They are not mine. They are from your world." Daniel frowned, confused. "My world? But I've never seen anything like this." The girl shook her head slowly, her glowing hair moving like silver fire. "Long ago, your people left a mark in the stars," she whispered. "My empire discovered it. But they could not understand. They feared it. They destroyed those who carried it, but some fragments survived." She placed her hand against Daniel's chest, her glowing symbols burning brighter. "And now, inside me, those fragments live again." Daniel shivered at her touch, not from fear, but from the weight of her words. The hunters growled in anger, raising strange weapons that glowed with red fire. Daniel's body acted before. His mind, he grabbed a broken wooden beam from the floor and held it like a sword. He knew it was useless against such enemies, but he could not stand still. The girl looked at him, her glowing eyes soft yet fierce. "You don't need weapons," she whispered. "You are the weapon." Before Daniel could respond, the hunters attacked. Red energy beams slashed across the cabin, burning holes into the walls. Daniel pulled the girl down, rolling across the floor as fire cut the air above them. The girl pressed her palm against the ground, and glowing lines spread out like roots of light. The hunters stumbled as the earth beneath them cracked, the floor trembling as if alive. Daniel's eyes widened. "You did that?" he whispered. The girl shook her head. "No, we did that." Her voice carried both fear and wonder. The hunters tried again, raising their weapons, but the glowing symbols from the girl's skin floated into the air and wrapped around Daniel. For a moment, he felt as if the world itself moved through him. A burst of blue energy exploded outward, knocking the hunters back. They hit the walls with metallic screams, sparks flying from their armor. Daniel gasped for air, his body shaking. "What just happened to me?" he asked. The girl looked at him with awe, her eyes wide. "You touched the memory," she whispered. "You woke it inside yourself." The hunters recovered, their voices sharp with anger. "Resistance detected. Adjust power. Neutralize both targets." They raised their weapons again, but now Daniel felt something different. The light that had wrapped around him still glowed faintly on his skin. It hummed softly, like a heartbeat not his own. He felt stronger, sharper, alive in a way he never had before. The girl grabbed his hand, her voice filled with urgency. "We must leave if they capture me. They will erase this memory. They will erase your chance." Daniel nodded, pulling her toward the broken back wall of the cabin. Together, they escaped, into the night, the forest swallowing them whole. Behind them, the hunters howled in rage, their red lights chasing through the trees. Daniel ran until his lungs burned, the girl struggling to keep up. At last, they stopped near a river where the moonlight reflected silver on the water. Daniel dropped to his knees, gasping for breath. The girl crouched beside him, her glowing eyes softer now, almost gentle. "You have seen it," she whispered. "The hidden message your people left behind." Daniel looked at her, confusion and fear mixing inside him. "What message? What does it mean?" The girl touched the glowing mark on her thigh again. "It means you are not weak. It means your world holds power beyond what you believe, and my empire fears it. That is why they hunt me, because I carry the key. But now, you carry it too." Daniel felt the weight of her words press down on him like stone. He was just a boy from a small town, yet now he carried something that could change worlds. The sound of the hunters echoed again in the distance. The girl leaned closer, whispering softly into his ear. "Teach me more of your rituals. Each one unlocks the message. Each one makes us stronger." Daniel stared into her glowing eyes and felt both fear and hope. He did not understand what was happening, but he knew one thing clearly. This girl was not just asking for his help. She was offering him a place in something much greater. And as the river flowed under the moonlight, Daniel made a silent promise. He would not let her be taken. He would not let this secret die. Whatever the hidden message was, he would uncover it, and he would fight for it, even if it meant standing against an empire. The river whispered softly in the night, carrying silver light across its waves. Daniel and the alien girl sat beside it, their breaths heavy from running, their hearts still racing from the hunters. For a long moment, neither spoke. Only the sound of water filled the silence. But Daniel knew he could not ignore her words anymore. She had asked him to teach her. She believed in rituals, and somehow they gave her power. Daniel rubbed his tired face, his mind searching for answers. "What do you mean by rituals?" he asked at last, his voice still soft with disbelief. The girl tilted her head, her glowing eyes watching him with deep curiosity. "Everything you do is ritual," she said. "The way you walk, the way you hold my hand, the way you fight. For me, these are not simple things, they are power." Daniel laughed nervously, shaking his head. "That's just life," he said. "That's what humans do every day." The girl leaned closer, her hair glowing faintly under the moon. "Then teach me your life," she whispered. "Teach me what makes you human." Daniel swallowed hard, still unsure what she meant. He thought about it for a while, then slowly held up his hand. "This," he said, "is called a handshake. It's how humans greet each other." The girl studied his hand as if it were a holy object. She placed her glowing fingers against his palm, and the marks on her skin shimmered brighter. When their hands touched, the water beside them rippled violently as if an unseen force had moved through it. Daniel pulled back quickly, shocked. The girl gasped with wonder. "So simple," she whispered, "yet so strong." Daniel stared at her, speechless. It was only a handshake, but somehow it created energy. Maybe her belief made it real, or maybe humans really carried something hidden within them. He didn't know which answer scared him more. The girl stood slowly, her legs trembling from exhaustion. "Another," she demanded softly. "Show me another ritual." Daniel thought hard, his mind flipping through ordinary human habits. Finally, he picked up a flat stone from the ground. "We throw stones across the water for fun," he said. "It's nothing important, just play." He flicked the stone and it skipped twice before sinking. The girl's eyes widened. She copied him, picking up a stone with her glowing hand. When she threw it, the stone skipped once. Then the water lit up with blue circles where it landed. The ripples glowed like fireflies dancing across the river. Daniel stepped back in shock. "It's not supposed to do that," he whispered. The girl turned to him with a smile, her first real smile since he had met her. "Your world is filled with rituals," she said. "They are seeds of power, hidden, even from you." Her words sent chills through him. Could it be true? Could the things humans did daily carry some kind of energy they had never noticed? Or was she unlocking something only she could see? Daniel sat back down. holding his knees tightly. "This is crazy," he muttered. "If this is true, then everything we do could mean something. Every action could be dangerous." The girl's face turned serious again. "Not dangerous," she whispered. "Sacred." Her glowing eyes looked past him, back toward the forest where red lights still flickered in the distance. "They fear this because they cannot control it," she said. "They do not understand it, so they try to destroy it." Daniel thought of the hunters, of their weapons, of their glowing red eyes. Compared to them, humans were weak, simple, fragile. Yet somehow this girl believed the opposite. She believed humanity carried something greater than machines or weapons, something hidden in their hearts, their habits, their rituals. Daniel sighed and stood up again. "All right," he said. "If I'm really teaching you, then you need to learn something important." The girl tilted her head, waiting. Daniel placed his hand over his chest. "This is respect," he said. "We put our hand here when we promise something, when we show trust." He closed his eyes and spoke. "I promise to protect you." The girl copied him, placing her glowing hand against her chest. Her symbols lit up so brightly that the trees around them glowed as if touched by moonlight. She whispered in her broken human voice, "I promise to protect you." Daniel's throat tightened at her words. It was not only a ritual now, it was a bond. The sound of the hunters grew faint for now. Perhaps they had lost the trail. But Daniel knew they would return. He looked at the girl, her small glowing form standing proudly despite her weakness. Each ritual seemed to make her stronger, but also more connected to him, and that connection scared him almost as much as it comforted him. The night air grew colder. Daniel led her back into the shadows of the forest, away from the river. The girl followed silently, but before they left, she whispered one more thing. "Your rituals are not only power," she said softly. "They are messages, left long ago, waiting for you to see them." Daniel looked back at the glowing water, the ripples still shimmering like stars, and deep in his heart, he felt a truth he could not explain. Humanity was not as ordinary as it seemed. The forest did not stay silent for long. Daniel and the girl moved carefully through the trees, but every shadow felt alive. Every sound felt like a warning. The night had turned colder, sharper, as if the earth itself knew something terrible was approaching. Daniel could still hear faint humming in the sky, the sound of alien machines hunting. He tried to stay calm, but his hands would not stop trembling. The girl walked beside him, glowing faintly with her strange marks. Her small figure seemed fragile, yet she carried an energy that unsettled him. Every step she took left behind faint sparks in the dirt, as if the ground remembered her presence. Daniel wanted to ask her more about these rituals, but before he could speak, the night was shattered. A roar filled the air, followed by a flash of red light. The trees around them shook as beams of energy cut through the branches. Daniel pulled the girl down just in time as a blast scorched the spot where they had been standing. The hunters had found them, and this time, they did not come quietly. Machines descended from the sky, black wings unfolding like shadows of death. 3 of the armored hunters landed before Daniel, their glowing red eyes fixed on the girl. Behind them, drones hovered in the air, humming like angry insects. "Target confirmed," one of the hunters said in its broken metallic voice. "Eliminate resistance, recover asset." The girl clutched Daniel's arm, her glowing eyes wide with fear. Daniel's heart pounded. He had nothing but his courage, but he refused to let them take her. The hunters raised their weapons, red light charging at the tips. Daniel acted without thinking. He grabbed a fallen branch and swung it like a club. The strike hit one of the hunters, the branch snapping against its armor. The hunter barely moved, then turned its glowing eyes toward him with a hiss. Daniel stepped back, realizing how hopeless it seemed, but before the hunter could strike, the girl raised both hands. Her glowing mark spread across her arms, and light burst outward like fire. The blast struck the hunters, forcing them back a step. The drones above flickered, their red lights dimming for a moment. Daniel shielded his face from the brightness, stunned by the power. The girl gasped for air, her body shaking. That is not enough, she whispered. I need more. Show me another ritual. Daniel's mind raced. What could he possibly do? Then he remembered something simple, something human. He raised his fists and said, "This is how we fight. We stand, we do not run." The girl nodded quickly, copying his stance. Her tiny fists glowed, her body trembling with energy. When the hunters advanced again, she swung, her hand forward, and a wave of blue light slammed into them. The ground cracked open, roots of light tearing through the soil. The hunters staggered, their weapons firing wildly, beams cutting into the trees. Daniel ducked and pulled her close. "That's it. Keep going," he said, though fear burned in his chest. The girl whispered, "Show me more," her voice urgent. Daniel thought fast, then spread his arms wide. "This means courage. It means we are not afraid," he said, his voice steady though his heart shook. The girl copied him, spreading her glowing arms. The marks on her skin blazed like fire, and the drones above suddenly collapsed, falling into the river with burning sparks. The hunters roared, their armor cracking under the pressure of the energy. Daniel could hardly believe what he was seeing. Every simple human gesture, every ritual unlocked something inside her, something the Empire had feared all along. But the hunters did not give up. One charged forward. Its claw aimed at Daniel's chest. Daniel froze, but the girl stepped between them, her glowing body shielding him. The hunter's claw struck her, but instead of piercing her flesh, it was absorbed into light. A blinding explosion erupted, sending the hunter flying into the trees. Daniel fell back, staring at her in shock. She stood glowing brighter than ever, her eyes like twin suns. "This is why they fear me," she whispered. "Because with you, I am not weak." Daniel realized then that the rituals were not just teaching her, they were awakening him too. Each gesture made him feel more alive, more powerful, as if something ancient was waking inside his blood. The remaining hunters stepped back, their red eyes flickering. "Retreat," one of them hissed. "The ritual has begun. Report to command." With heavy steps, they vanished into the trees, their machines pulling back into the night sky. The forest grew quiet again, but the silence was heavy, dangerous. Daniel and the girl stood alone, their breaths harsh, their bodies trembling. The girl turned to him, her voice barely a whisper. "This is only the beginning. They will return with more, stronger, faster. But now they know the rituals are not gone." Daniel swallowed hard, his body still shaking from fear and adrenaline. "What do we do now?" he asked. The girl stepped closer, her glowing hand pressing against his chest. "Now," she whispered, "we prepare for war." And under the cold moonlight, Daniel realized his world had changed forever. The forest lay in silence after the hunters retreated. But Daniel knew that silence was not peace. It was only a pause, a moment before the storm returned. He leaned against a tree, his body trembling, his hands shaking from the memory of battle. The girl stood beside him, glowing softly, her breaths heavy but steady. She looked at him with eyes full of both fear and hope. "They will come again," she whispered, "stronger this time, with more soldiers, with ships, with fire." Daniel nodded slowly, his throat dry. He had never felt so small, yet never so necessary. "They're afraid," he said, his voice low. "That's why they're hunting you. That's why they want to erase this." The girl touched the glowing marks on her skin, her small hand trembling. "They are afraid of you," she said. "Not me. Without you, these rituals mean nothing." Daniel frowned, shaking his head. "I don't understand. I'm just me." But she stepped closer, her glowing hand pressing against his chest. "You are more than you think. Your people are more than you believe. I was told Earth is weak, but now I see the truth. Your rituals are power. Your rituals are memory. They are the seed of something greater." Her words burned into his mind like fire. The night sky above them rippled with faint lights. Far away, ships were moving in orbit, watching, waiting. The Empire was preparing, and Daniel knew their time was running short. He stared into the darkness, thinking of his home, his family, his friends who had no idea what was coming. He thought, of the hunters who would tear through the earth without mercy. And he thought of the girl beside him, a fragile spark holding a secret that could change everything. "What do you want me to do?" he asked finally. The girl lowered her head, her glowing hair drifting softly. "I want you to teach me," she whispered. "But if I stay, the Empire will destroy this world. They will not stop until Earth is ash. I cannot ask you to suffer for me." Her words cut into him, sharp and cold. "Are you saying you'll leave?" he asked, his voice breaking slightly. She hesitated, her glowing eyes filled with sorrow. "If I leave," she said, "I can take the memory far away. Maybe they will follow me. Maybe your world will be safe. But if I stay, they will come with fire. They will not forgive, and your people will pay the price." Daniel felt his chest tighten. It was a choice between safety and sacrifice, between protecting Earth now or unlocking something that could save it forever. If she left, the threat might pass. If she stayed, war would come. But war might also reveal the true power hidden in humanity. Daniel looked at her, his voice trembling, but strong. "You think leaving will save us, but what if it doesn't? What if they come back anyway? What if Earth never learns the truth?" The girl shook her head softly, tears glowing in her eyes. "I don't want to see your people burn because of me," she whispered. Daniel reached out and took her hand. "You're not the reason they'll burn," he said. "They'll burn because the Empire is afraid of us, afraid of what we could become. And if that's true, then running won't change anything." The girl stared at him, silent. Her lips trembled as if she wanted to argue, but she could not. Daniel squeezed her hand tighter. "I don't want safety if it means blindness. I don't want peace if it means weakness. If humanity has something hidden, then we need to see it, we need to fight for it, and I won't let you leave without trying." The girl closed her glowing eyes, a single tear sliding down her pale cheek. "You are brave," she whispered. "Braver than I thought humans could be." Daniel gave a small, tired smile. "Brave or stupid," he said. "Maybe both." They both laughed softly, though their laughter was heavy with fear. Above them, the faint lights in the sky grew brighter. The Empire's ships were drawing closer, like storm clouds gathering. The girl suddenly turned serious again. "If you choose this path," she said, "you must know there is no return. Once the rituals are awakened fully, the Empire will see you as a threat. They will destroy you. If they can, they will never stop." Daniel nodded, his jaw tight. "I already made my choice," he said. "I'm not letting them take you, and I'm not letting them erase what we are." The girl's eyes glowed brighter at his words. She raised her small hands and pressed them against his. "Then we must prepare," she whispered. "The final rituals will be dangerous. They will change you, they will change me, but only together can we survive." Daniel felt her energy flow into him, his body trembling as the glowing marks spread faintly across his own skin. For the first time, he felt less like himself and more like something new, something ancient awakening inside him. He did not know if it was power or madness, but he knew it was real. The forest around them grew quiet again, too quiet. Daniel looked up, his breath freezing in his chest. Through the trees, he saw the sky burning with red light. Dozens of ships, larger than mountains, breaking through the clouds. The Empire had arrived. The girl whispered softly, almost too soft to hear. "It begins." Daniel stood beside her, his fists clenched, his fear drowned by resolve. The choice was made. There was no turning back. Together they would face the storm. The night sky was no longer a sky. It was fire. It was thunder. It was the shadow of death descending upon Earth. Dozens of ships cut through the clouds, their red light spreading across the land like bleeding stars. Daniel stood frozen beneath the trees, his eyes wide as the ground trembled. The girl beside him shivered, her glowing body fragile yet unbroken. The air was thick with the hum of alien engines. Forests shook, rivers rippled, animals scattered into the darkness. The Empire had arrived, not as hunters, not as drones, but as an army. Their command ship loomed above, larger than a mountain, its surface crawling with weapons and fire. Daniel swallowed hard, every instinct in his body screaming to run. The girl touched his arm, her voice soft but steady. "This is the moment," she whispered. "The choice is already made. Now we fight. Now we show them what it means to be human." Daniel stared at her, his chest heavy. He wanted to deny it. He wanted to scream that he was just one man, but something deep inside him knew there was no escape. Fate had chosen him, and now Earth stood at the edge of war. The trees around them burned as beams of red light cut through the forest. Hunters descended once more, dozens of them, their glowing eyes fixed on the girl. Target confirmed, their voices echoed. Retrieve, erase, destroy. Daniel stepped in front of her, his fists tight, his body trembling. He was afraid, but he would not move, not this time. The girl raised her skirt slightly once more, a gesture Daniel now understood was sacred in her culture. Beneath the fabric, glowing lines spread across her body like armor. At her core, hidden deep, was a small device pulsing with blue fire. "This is the last ritual," she whispered, her glowing eyes meeting his. Daniel frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" She stepped closer, her hand pressing against his chest. "The final ritual is war," she said softly, "but I cannot perform it alone. I need you. I need your heart, your courage, your will. Teach me the ritual of battle, and I will show you the weapon they fear most." Daniel's breath caught in his throat. He had no weapon, no training, no army, but he saw her eyes glowing with trust, glowing with desperation. He realized the ritual she needed was not skill, not violence, but defiance itself. Daniel spread his arms wide and shouted into the night, "We will not kneel, we will not run. This is our world, and we will fight for it." The girl copied him, her glowing arms reaching toward the sky. The marks across her skin blazed like fire, and the device hidden inside her body awakened. The air cracked with thunder as light burst from her form. Blue energy shot upward, tearing into the sky, striking the Empire's ships. The hunters screamed as their armor shattered under the force. Drones exploded, falling like burning stars into the forest. The ground shook as if the earth itself had risen in anger. Daniel felt the light flowing through him too, burning in his veins. His body glowed faintly, his skin alive with the same marks that covered her. The Empire's command ship trembled under the blast. Alarms echoed across the sky, but still it remained, heavy, unbroken. From its heart, a voice roared across the night, deep and merciless. "You are nothing. You are dusk. You will bow or you will burn." The girl's knees buckled, her light flickering. She gasped, her body shaking from the strain. Daniel caught her, holding her tight. "No," he said, his voice trembling. "We will not bow." She looked up at him, tears glowing in her eyes. "Then whisper it," she said, her voice weak. "Whisper the ritual of war. Whisper it to me, and I will carry it into the stars." Daniel closed his eyes, his lips close to her ear. He whispered words simple but strong. "Stand, fight, never surrender. This is who we are." The girl's body blazed with light, brighter than the moon, brighter than the fire of the ships. She stood tall, her tiny frame no longer weak but shining like a blade. Her voice echoed with his, louder than thunder. "Stand, fight, never surrender." The Empire's army faltered, their machines stumbling, their weapons flickering. Even the great command ship groaned under the weight of that power. Daniel felt his chest burn, the marks spreading across his arms and face. The girl turned to him one last time, her glowing eyes full of both sorrow and strength. "This is not the end," she whispered. "This is only the first battle. But now they know, now they fear, and now they will never stop." Daniel nodded, his throat tight. "Then let them come," he said. "We'll show them what humans are." Above them, the command ship began to retreat into the clouds. The Empire had not been defeated, but they had been shaken. The hunters scattered, their voices hissing with rage. The forest was broken, the ground was scorched, but Daniel and the girl still stood, alive, defiant, unbroken. The girl leaned close, her final words a whisper that carried across the night. The last ritual has begun and the war for Earth has only just started. Daniel held her close as the burning sky faded into silence, and in his heart, he knew humanity's story was no longer ordinary. It was the story the stars themselves would remember.